Hi everyone, MJ here. Yeah, I did not play my introduction. What I wanted it to play was this. No, sorry. What I wanted it to play was, oh yeah, it's already on the screen. This, but really big. How you guys doing? I always like to give everybody a couple of minutes to come in before we get into tonight's subject, and I want to welcome everyone on YouTube and on Facebook. Nice to have you all with us. I, of course, am MJ Klein. I'm really going to put myself out here tonight. Now, I came in the park, and it's interesting because you hear these folks here behind me, right? They are a group of Filipino factory workers who live in a dorm right over there, beside the park, and they frequent the park a lot. Apparently, they won a volleyball championship. Mike, how you doing? Nice to see you this month. Apparently, they won a big volleyball championship, and so they're having a celebration over here, which is cool. But I was going to start my live stream, and they put up that banner and stuff on a couple of ladders, and I had to, hey, Ken Rod, fist bump. How's it going, man? Dave, fist bump to you. Good evening, everyone. Hello. All right. Nice as everybody. It looks like the gang's going to be here tonight. Now, I realize I haven't been on since we did the infamous hot tub episode. Apparently, on Facebook, people were clicking on it and going, apparently people thought I was A, going to get naked myself, or B, that I would have a naked woman in there with me. And then I would be so indiscreet as to show that. That doesn't jibe with who I am and my personality, which is something I want to talk about tonight. Now, I've been on a fast again, and I'm just having a couple of these mixed nuts. They're nutritionally dense, and there's no sugar, and there's no, thanks, Dave. Low carbohydrates. The hot tub therapy was great. And yesterday, I went to this pool in my town. And I love doing that kind of stuff, Dave. I went to the pool in my town. And I never saw this in the States, but I haven't lived in the States for a long, long time. Maybe you guys have these spas now, but away from the swimming pool, at a different pool that's slightly heated. I know they got these in Japan too. They have these tubes that come up and they're bent, and they have nozzles on them. And the nozzles have different shapes. Sometimes sometimes they'll spray like a triangle, sometimes very sharp pointed. And what these are massage tools, okay? Because you're supposed to turn the water on and put your back up against the stream. Now, back in New Hampshire, I used to do that just, going to a river. I would go to a river and just plugging my phone in. Put my back up against the rocks, and it was amazing. Kind of like a little, sort of a small rapids, and it would just, beat on your back and your shoulders and your neck. You'd be so relaxed, and by the time you got out, of the river, you'd be completely like rehabilitated. I have my LED glass, and I'm drinking some Costco rum with a little bit of double CO2. This is double CO2. EX extra CO2 bubble water. Are you talking about the those spas? They are great, and quite frankly, I've been having a problem with like either a pulled muscle or something in the hip joint and the buttock, and in the large muscle on the top of the thigh, And they had one jet that was so strong. This thing would. Yes, they had those in Taiwan too. They always have one that goes straight down on your head. But I was in Taoyuan where they had a huge, this thing was like maybe 7 or 8 meters long, elevated tub full of water. And it made a sheet of water that came down. And there'd be 10, 15 people standing in it. And because it was rectangular, people could stand all the way, all the way around it. That's amazing. But this water jet was so strong, it could rip your clothes off. And I fired that thing at my hip joint. And the funny thing is, it was so strong that, the angle of it, in order for me to get far enough away, because you can't adjust the angles, it is what it is. So depending on, where you're standing, as that's what I'm saying, the distance is going to change where it hits you. And in order for me to get far enough away for it to get me in the hip joint, the jet was actually under the water. And it was still powerful enough to really do like this deep massage. I turned around, and you gotta be careful. You aim at a sensitive spot and yow, you're getting punched. But I did the front of both of my thighs, and man, I slept amazing last night. It was really, really something. Did it on my shoulders, my neck, and even the one on the head. That's great. Nice scalp and neck massage. But in Taiwan, you have to wear a bathing cap. And I always resisted it because, it's part of my personality. But turns out bathing cap's actually useful. They really are rejuvenating. And I see a lot of older people go into them, and now I know why. And some of the ladies were using. They also have the very turbulent bubbles that come up. There's one thing they've got like a semicircular rail that's underwater. You hold on to, you press a button, and there's a cover plate that has like a bazillion holes in it. And I don't know what they got for air pressure, but you stand there and it just basically just beats your body up, especially your legs, your lower body. Excuse me, burping here. They had women doing those things for 30, 40 minutes, and they're doing like little exercises as they're in there. A lot of older people are in there. I went there with my daughter, Phoenix, playing with her. I grew up in Florida. I grew up, swimming in pools and stuff. My parents never watched us. We learned how to swim when we were like 3 and swimming in the ocean. But I got to tell you, after an hour, I was worn out. Good exercise. You better believe I'm going to be going back there again. I'm getting my trike fixed. I'm planning on some long rides after Phoenix goes back to school. Turn around into September. Weather starts getting a little bit cooler. I'll be able to do these rides without getting burned to a crisp. Anyway, so I can see myself going to that spa maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. Oh, by the way, they have a steam room too. If you've never been in a steam room, There was a steam room in Taoyuan, which the area where I used to live, north of here. They closed down, but they call it a medical steam room because the steam was infused with Chinese herbs. And they gave you like unlimited herbal tea to drink. Of course, when you're in the steam room, you kind of get dehydrated because it's funny, you're in it, you're being steamed, but you know, you're losing liquid because of heat and you're sweating, right? So they gave you all the unlimited herbal tea that you wanted. And I really miss that hot spring because when I used to feel sick, some kind of bronchitis or some such, or cold or flu, I'd go to that place. Spend about an hour there, going in and out, in and out. What you do is you go in the steam room for a little while, and then you come out and you take a shower, cool off, take a rest, go back, have some tea, you know, go back. Fantastic. I want to welcome everyone on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for joining. Now tonight, you probably saw the kind of extreme thumbnail, right? You saw this, right? And you saw the title. It is a workout. It is a good workout. Tonight I'm going to talk about myself and my personality. And this is interesting because as I get older, and believe it or not, I'm 3.5 years away from being 70 years old. It's hard for me to believe. I can't believe it. I don't have the outlook of an old person. I don't have the energy problems and those kinds of things, you know. It's weird. But I've always known that I am different somehow, and I'm not trying to say that I'm special or anything, or trying to make more of myself, you know, than is necessary. I really don't like that. But I just want to talk about kind of the discovery about, you know, who I am and why I'm a certain way, you know. Well, the thing is, I might as well put them on. Not to tell me which colors you like. This is red. And each side is independent. Like if I change this side, you see, it changes to green. Now if we do them together, that's like a dark blue, that's yellow. This is one of my favorites. This is a light blue. And then this is a pink. Now the pink goes with my, the pink really, really goes with my mask. It also has like different cycles, you know. This is the, oh, this is white, okay. Anyway, it goes through different cycles and it changes all kinds of colors, and they all work independently. So we turn it off. And so anyway, there's a honeycomb to this one, and I got another pair too. Yeah, thanks. I like these. All right, I'm going to get into this because welcome to our new viewer on Facebook. I always wonder why I was different, and I don't just mean like anything special, but just not the same as other people, you know. And there have been episodes that have happened in my life that kind of baffle me. And one thing that I have talked about a little bit on this show is I had at one time some empathic abilities. That would be nice. Be amazing. Something like rum, maybe, I don't know. Often people, total strangers would come to me and say things like, well, I saw somebody on Facebook, it's going to my page, it's not going to my Time Live TV page, it's going to my personal page, you know. So it's not going to Taiwan Live TV. I mean, no, the real Taiwan. Sorry, Taiwan Live TV is a long time ago. It's not going to any page. It's going to my regular feed. So if you want to check it for me, I'd appreciate it. I think it's working. Somebody came on, and I think they saw there was no beautiful woman, so they left. But it's funny as I'm eating. Oh, there's as I'm eating, it's funny. I'm chewing, and the muscles that control your jaw up in your temple, and it's making this move a little bit, and it's actually. Oh, I got to open this up and look at it. It's modulating the battery. Now the cool thing is I can turn this side off and have it powered from one side only. See, this one is not on. And you can like still continue, but it's full intensity with both. There have been other times, like for example, I've never been overly concerned about my job, like if I lost it. And I always would fight my boss on things that I thought maybe he was wrong about. I'll give you an example. When I was working in the foundry, I do. It should say something like MJ Army or Late Night Army or something. Or just the real Taiwan, yeah. The thing is, though, you know, this is just an etched piece of plexiglass, so it could be anything. When I worked at the foundry, we're doing sand castings, right? I had known this boss for over 25 years, and we had a good relationship. He trusted me, and I knew a lot of things about the business, about how he got it started. I mean, he even called me up and told me, hey, I'm starting a new foundry, and as soon as I can afford to hire you, I'm going to hire you, which he did, kept his promise. A year and a half later, he hired me away from Cybex. I went to work for him for less money than Cybex because I wanted the experience, and I knew him. See, that's an interesting personality trait. Who would... Thanks, Mike. All right. Thank you on Facebook. I mean, who would take a job for less money? Just for the experience. I would. Anyway, I'm going to tell you two stories. And so this is one of them. So we were at the foundry, and, you know, things were kind of tense. We had a lot of pressure, you know, from Chinese foundries very rapidly after the company started. Nobody could have actually foreseen that. And we were doing a job for a huge company, a German company. And I realized that if we invested a small amount of money in some new capital equipment, we could probably triple or quadruple the amount of business that we would get from this company. So I told the boss, I said, you know, it'd be nice if we could invest and try to, you know, there, I just changed the exposure. It'd be nice if we can invest and, you know, and get more of that revenue from that company. And I've known him a long time, and I know how people are. He kind of snapped at me, and I understand why. It probably bothered him because he couldn't afford the investment to do it. And then I brought it up, and he snapped at me, and he said, are you willing to gamble your paycheck on it? And I said, hell yeah. And he stopped. He was taken aback. He's like, what? I said, deduct from my paycheck whatever you think is an appropriate amount to invest in the capital equipment so we can get this business, and you'll just pay me back later. And he was like, wow. Well, he needed to get the approval from everybody in the company to do that. Of course, that would never happen, but that's just how I am. Another time, I had just recently recovered from my severe back injury, and it was terrible. So I had not done a whole lot of work. I'd done some work. I'm going to change the exposure. I had done some work, and I had been doing some broadcast engineering work, but I actually needed a little bit more money to try to get, back into the swing of things. I had just laid out a big, at the time, big investment, $550 cash in 1994. That's a lot of money. That's like $1,500 today for a Garmin GPS unit, so I could do some broadcast engineering work with it, and it more than paid for itself. But I was looking for some kind of supplemental income, and $100, $200 a week, that would have helped a lot. So I realized that between the hours of 3 a.m. and 7 a.m., I wasn't doing anything except looking at the inside of my eyeballs. And since most of the broadcast engineering work and studio work that I did was at night, it really didn't matter if I slept until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It just didn't matter. So I went down to the local place in my town, which wasn't too far from my house, and got a paper route for the Boston Globe. And it was amazing. I would go there and they would hand me 3 bundles of newspapers. And I would pull over the side of the road with my engine running. It'd be like 4 a.m. And I would spend 30 minutes folding them and putting rubber bands on them. And all I did was roll down my window and throw the papers at people's houses. And they paid me for that. I was like, wow, that's really cool. The only hassle was the Sunday Boston Globe. I don't know if you guys know, the Sunday Boston Globe is about this big. I hated Sundays because I had to physically carry them. And there were a couple people who insisted that I walk up their driveway and open the screen door and put it between the screen door and the main door because they were too lazy to go get it. And I got to tell you, a couple of times on snowy days, I fell. I fell one time flat on my back. Beside the point. So, you guys know me. I was very meticulous. I made a spreadsheet of all my customers and where they lived. And every time I got, I would get a new customer, when I picked up my papers, there would be a sheet on it of any new customers. And I was supposed to have the exact number of papers. So if I got to the end of my route and I had 2 papers left in my car on the floor of the front seat, I'd be like, uh-oh, I missed 2 customers. So I kept a spreadsheet and I kept real accurate track of the customers that I had. The other thing I did was I made a GPS route. Okay, thanks, Ken, because I'm getting to the point later. Thanks, bro, and I know you're busy. And I got to tell you something. I was in the car with my family, and I saw the last YouTube. It was today. The last YouTube video that you did, and you held the cup up to your head, and I was like, the cup's bigger. Look, the cup's bigger than his head. I know you're holding it up close, but it's like, of course, if you hold it back, it's like. But I was like, if I drank that much coffee, I'd have to go to the hospital for heart palpitations. I don't know how you do it, man, but it's like, but I know that was tea. But even that much tea, just, so that was fun. I loved it, man. I love seeing that huge cup. Ken, I love you, man. And one of the things I love about you is your sense of humor. I can make any kind of a joke that I want, and you always get it, and you're so easy to get along with. It's amazing. Thanks, bro, and you take care. Yes, Mike, they are. You're quite welcome, Ken. And, you've earned my friendship, and I hope someday to be able to give you a big hug and maybe a kiss like they used to do in the Hebrew days, on the, Anyway, you know what I'm saying. All right, so getting back to the paper route thing, right? Yeah, it is. It is, Mike, because it's discipline, So a couple of weeks after I was into it, my boss asked me, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, It's fine, it's no problem. And he said, I want to ride with you, and see what, how you handle things. I said, okay. So I got in the car with him, and he said, you always fold, you always spend time folding before you you start delivering? And I said, yeah. He said, you may find that there's enough space in between the houses that if you just grab a paper, you know, you can kind of fold it real quick. Because obviously, you know, you just go bam, bam, and put the rubber band on. It's real quick, right? I mean, after you've done this for a couple of weeks, you've done several thousand. And so he gave me some really practical insights. So I said, okay, you know what? You're along with me now. Let's try this. But next time I'm going to try to do that by myself. And I did. And so he sat in the back seat of my car, and I had all this in my front seat. And I just went to the first house, and I said, wow, you're right. And the thing that impressed him a lot was I rolled down both windows, because a lot of guys do this kind of throw over the roof of the car out the left-hand window, and that didn't work for me. I was throwing out the right-hand window. He's like, wow, I've never seen that before. I'm like, really? It just seemed logical, seemed reasonable to me. And I got so good at the timing, maybe because I'm a musician, that I would actually go really fast, and I'd see the house coming up, and it would be 2 houses away, and I would throw it out the right window, and it would spin, and it would land on the porch. I did a couple of those, and that guy was like, dang. So, but he noticed the GPS on the dash. And he said, what's that for? I said, well, this tells me if I'm really like off track. I tried to optimize, because now remember, 1994, there were no Google Maps, there was not even MapQuest, there wasn't anything like that. What I had was Delorme, the company, Delorme's Map Expert, which was a mapping program that I used in my live stream, in my broadcast engineering work, okay? So let me do this. I'm going to change these. I'm going to change these to the next color. Okay. So I had mapped out I put every customer's house, and I mapped out the most efficient route, and I programmed it into the GPS. So I told him I know it by heart by now, but if I ever like space out, I can just look at GPS and it tells me. He goes, wow, you use GPS? Because now remember, 1994. Nobody really had GPS. There were no smart mobile phones. You know, if you wanted a GPS, you had to buy one. And like I said, I paid $550 US in 1994 cash for a Garmin GPS 45. That's what I used in the broadcast engineering field. And that thing made me $4,000 in one afternoon of 6 hours of work, man. That's where we were at back in those days. So here's what happened. I didn't realize it at the time, but the reason he wanted to ride with me was he wanted to size me up. Makes sense now, but I'm not suspicious of individuals generally. I'm very wary when I get certain signals, but this guy was my boss, and so I didn't think anything of it, you know. So after we got done, he says, I'll tell you what, another time, about 2 or 3 days later, I went in to get my papers, and he said, when you get done, right, hey Frank, how you doing? Went swimming in the clean part of the Atlantic. Oh man, that must have been absolutely amazing. Oh yeah, and Frank, I saw, fist bump to you by the way, bro, I saw that you were in Hampton, yeah. And I used to live in New Hampshire, and of course, when I lived in Mass, we went up there a lot. That was great. We went up there with Sandy, you know Sandy. And yeah, boy, oh boy, Hampton Beach, amazing. But my boss came out. I got my papers, and he came out of his office. He says, "Hey, Klein, when you get done with your route today, would you mind coming back? I just want to talk to you about something." I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And I came back, and he said, "Would you like to be a route manager?" Now, I'd only been there for about 2 months. And yeah, now that I think about it, there was a considerable, yeah, I told you that after a couple of weeks, he went to see me ride. There was a considerable length of time between that and then this other thing. Or either that, or I'm kind of confused because also I was taking a lot of pain medication then. I think I just did my route, and then one day he decided to check me out. And a couple of days later, he said, okay, come to my office. And that was 2 months after I started. Okay, all right, something like that. So I said, what's involved? Because I really don't want a full-time job. You know, I'm not interested in that. He said, we give you a certain number of routes, and you just manage them. You know, like what I'm doing for you now. But, you know, we need some more route managers because we're expanding. I said, okay. What do I got to do? And he told me it wasn't a full-time job. It was only like from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., which is great. So we got to go to Waltham, and you got to see this guy, and you've got to interview. And I said, okay. Can I go like right after, you know, I leave? Or he said, no, you got. So anyway, I had to go like 11 o'clock in the morning. And I got done with my paperwork like about 7, so I went to my favorite place, which is the Brothers Deli, and I ate breakfast and hung around. And I just had the same casual clothes that I had on to go to the interview because I don't like pretense. So I went to the interview, and this is what happened. I'm going to change to the next color just because I want to. This is the dark blue. So. Like all these guys, he kept me waiting an appropriate amount of time for me to understand that he's, you know, the alpha. So he comes in the interview room, and I introduced myself. He introduced himself, and I said, "Look, I'm here for a manager's job, but I didn't dress up for the interview. This is what I used to deliver papers." He's like, "No problem. I understand that." I said, "Okay." And the truth is, my boss didn't dress any differently anyway. It wasn't like it wasn't a suit and tie environment. So he asked me all the usual stupid questions, you know, about my background and this and my goals in life, as if being a route manager, you know, as a paper route manager would be able to fulfill my goals in life. But you know, he's one of those guys that. I can't stand these guys. Doesn't consider anything about you. Just he's got all these questions and stuff, and he goes, "Okay, well, thank you very much." And he goes to shake my hand. I go, "Wait a second. Wait, I have some questions that I'd like to ask you." This is point number 1 of my personality reveal and why I'm different than everybody else, and I'm the 0.01% of the population. I have a series of questions that I ask employers, and it starts with, number 1, what is the goal of your company? And if they miss that question, I do not ask any more questions, and I get up, I excuse myself, and I leave. This guy says, I said, my first question is, what's the goal of your company? Now, I know what the goal of his company is. Wouldn't believe what he did. He leans back in his chair and he goes, this must look really cool with these glasses on. By the way, he didn't look as cool as me, okay? He looked like an idiot because he's telling me he doesn't know. This means, I don't know. And what am I doing? I'm doing this. Of course, my hair was a lot darker then. I'm doing this, and it was a lot fuller. Sorry about I'm losing it, but I'm going like this. He says, the goal of this company is to be the best newspaper distribution company. And I think, I didn't even listen because it's wrong. I think he said in Massachusetts, and I'm going, he goes, what's wrong? I go, look, if I'm going to work for you, we have a big problem. And he's taken aback. What do you mean? I said, you see, I think the goal of your company is to make money. If you hire me as a manager, every decision that I make will point to the goal of making money. I will make money for you over anything else. And if you think the goal is to be the best distribution company, we're going to have problems. He didn't know what to say. He was like dumbfounded. Why would anybody in business be dumbfounded by that? They should say, oh, you're absolutely right. I feel stupid. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed. or not even, or just say, go ahead. We want you to make as much money for us as possible. That's the goal in business, guys. All this grandiose stuff, no, because here's the thing. What that guy didn't seem to understand was, if he was making the maximum amount of money, it's because he would be the best. You see, all these things that people assign as goals are not goals. They're results. They're the results that you achieve of attaining the goal. And in business, it's to make money. If you make a ton of money, you met all the other goals. You beat everybody in sales. You beat everybody in quality. You beat everybody in customer service because you're on top. So I politely excused myself and I split and I went home, took a nap. Got up the next day, or the next morning, went and got my papers, and my boss called me and he said, come here. I said, what? He says, what the heck did you say to that guy? Nothing. I mean, I just asked him what the goal of the company is, and he didn't know. I said, yeah. I mean, I told him that I think the goal of the company is to make money. And my boss is like, yeah, of course. I said, well, he didn't know that. He said the goal of the company is to blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, you really, I mean, you upset things quite a bit. He said, but he called me back and he says, he really likes your attitude. And if you want, I can get you another interview. And I said, no, I can't work for that guy. And no thanks. You know what I like? I like solitude. It's number 2. I just want to sit in my car and I want to throw papers out the window. And I don't want anybody to tell me how to do it. I don't want anybody in the car talking with me about useless nonsense. That's point number 3. I don't want anybody wasting my time. That's point number 4. It goes on. So I've been wondering why I'm so different than all these other people. Because in the small fields where I am, where I'm working, I'm going to change colors. This is yellow. I hate yellow. This is light blue. Oh yeah. I don't hate yellow. I hate yellow lights on me. I hate, in my history of being a musician, I always hated yellow spotlights. In the fields where I work, I'm very competent. I'm confident and competent. If I tell you I can deliver this, I can deliver this. And incompetence bothers me like almost as much as something like theft. I mean, really, I can't stand incompetence. I also cannot stand authority without discipline. In Taiwan, there are many factory bosses that are the boss because their father owns the company. These guys have not attained their position because of the discipline required. Those kind of people, in my book, you tell me to do something, no, I'm not doing it because you don't know. I have tried and true and tested methodologies of things that I have worked out in engineering and science, point number 5. And I know they work, and I can't stand arguing with people about things that they don't understand. And so I've always been different in this regard. And it's not that I'm being uncordial, although some people perceive it that way, but that's not how it's meant. It's just meant like, I don't have time. And I say it a lot, I don't have time. I'm getting older, I don't have time. But I have taken time to do things the right way. So like, for example, if you give me a piece of audio that you want cleaned up, maybe a recording that you made, 20, 30, 40 years ago on tape, and you want to remove the hiss, and you want to bring out the voices, something like that. I am very competent in those things that I do. I am not competent outside of my range, and I don't pretend to be. I don't tell people, oh, well, I can do that if I can't. But I don't like authority. But it's not that I don't respect authority. Now, this is where I personally deviate a little bit from this personality type that I'm going to reveal at the end of this discussion. Because as a practicing Christian, one must be in subjection to superior authority, whether it's secular or theocratic. That may sound kind of weird, but because of my spiritual side, I recognize that there are certain authorities that I need to obey, regardless of my personal opinion about their competence or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? There are certain exceptions to the competency rule, but regarding strictly secular matters, with regard to competency, as soon as I discover somebody is incompetent at what they do, there is nothing they can say, there is nothing they can do that will have any effect on me at all. From that point, I know that they're just full of it and I don't listen to them. I guess that's kind of point number 6. Oh, this always says 6 in Chinese. So I've always wondered why I am different from other people. And I have some personality conflicts with certain people because of things like this. I've never understood why people are so content at just small talk. I prefer deep discussions. You know, the origin of life, life on other planets, you know, time warps, these kinds of things. And I'm very capable of understanding these concepts. I mean, I've been familiar with electrogravitics for over 30 years, and I know how it works. I have the original Wallace patent for anti-gravity. I know about all of this stuff. It's actually easy. I read a book called The Complete Works of Nikola Tesla. It's about this big. Read the whole thing. Guess what? I read everything Tesla wrote that's available. It's fairly easy to understand, but you know, you have to have a certain approach to it. So recently, without even meaning to, I came across some information about personality types, and I was absolutely astonished to realize that I am in fact a Sigma male, not an alpha, certainly not a beta or a gamma, which is a fake Sigma. I'm a Sigma, and that's like 0.01% of the population. And it really stands to reason because you guys know my level of morality and justice. That's like 0.7. Sigma males have an extreme regard for morality and justice, and they will even do things like lose money or sabotage relationships or businesses or whatever to maintain the moral high side. And I've always done that. It's amazing. I've always done that in my business and everything. Like, I had one of my customers in my castings business. I don't get involved in the quality control, and one of the factories that work in our consortium shipped 9 tons of junk to my customer. I went to the boss. I said, "You're going to take these back at your expense. You're going to remelt them and recast them and remachine them at your expense. You're going to send them to my customer at your expense." He said, "Okay." Sigma male. He's an alpha. Definitely, that guy's an alpha. I told him what he needed to do on the moral basis, and he did it. And that customer is my customer for life. It was the right decision. The customer actually told me, "I thought I would never hear from you again. I thought that you had taken my money and just sent me this junk." Because it was only like 2 years into our relationship, so that would only have been about 7 or 8 shipments. A lot of China companies do this, and it's confusing because they got weird names and in English, and they just change one letter, and they re-up or re-register their corporation the next day, you know, with a new name and it's one letter different, and most people like don't even notice. That's a huge thing. And I said nope, because one of the sayings that I have as a Sigma male is that there is no softer pillow than a clean conscience. And you have to sleep at night. And I can't sleep at night knowing that I stole something from somebody like that. That I did something like that that was so wrong and so bad. That I took hundreds of thousands of dollars from somebody and shipped them junk. No. The more I read and the more I studied about the personality type of the Sigma male, it was like somebody shooting arrows into my heart. Pew, 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 pew. Of course, not every person who is a personality type has 100%, like that is, you know, the percentile of every single property. And like I said, I'm guided by some other principles. But I'm going to tell you that when I was done with my research, it was an absolute epiphany. And I can't express the relief that I feel to finally understand where I fit in society, where I fit in the personality spectrum, and how maybe I can continue to improve myself, which is also point number 8. Sigma males constantly want to improve themselves because I don't want some of the conflicts that I've had before. I never understood. I used to have incredible arguments with people about trivial matters, in my opinion. I now recognize these were major matters in their opinion, but to me they were trivial because they didn't affect the outcome. It just affected how they felt. Change to pink, my favorite color. So that, for those of you who are still listening and you guys have gone quiet, which I appreciate because you are listening. That has been my journey to discover my personality. You mean the Sigma male, really? Well, Dave, you've known me for about 6 years, offline and online. We met in, was it 2019 when you came here? What I like, because you and I talk almost every day. In fact, we're talking just 20 minutes before this broadcast. Dave, if you would be so kind, not now, it's too late, I know it's really late. Go to YouTube and just do a search, the traits of a Sigma male. From what you know of me, just watch the video and tell me what you think. Because there is a Gamma male. The Gamma male is a fake Sigma. If I'm a Gamma male, I want to know that, and I would admit it. But the Gamma male has certain weaknesses. Lone wolf, yeah. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, and it's not that just that you're a lone wolf. It's just that one of the traits of the Sigma male is that when they get involved with something, and I think you know me well enough to know this is a sort of a defining characteristic of me, like with this drone, okay? I did a tremendous amount of research. Actually, I asked you, if you're gonna buy a new drone, which one would you buy? And you gave me 2 choices, and the Mini 3 Pro came out, and I got that one. And I dove into it with both feet, and I have, in a very short time, accomplished some fairly decent work with that drone. And this is how I am, though. I went from not being in the recording industry at all to 2018 to having one of the most technologically sophisticated recording studios in Taiwan in my house with a Dante audio network and just crazy stuff, because that's what I do. So it's not that we're lone wolves so much, it's that we leave other people behind because we're willing to spend the time to do the research. This is why I know, now I understand. How did I acquire all this knowledge about anti-aging and supplements and so forth? You look at my face, I'm 66 and I'm in relatively good shape for my age. I've got a 9-year-old daughter, try to keep up with. I still play guitar, still do a lot of things. And I don't read, well, I have one exception. I don't normally read fiction. My favorite recreation is to read technical material. And I have the Academia app on all of my devices, and I read like electrical engineering stuff from Nikola Tesla and others every single day. I also read Bible passages and theocratic information every day too. And so, as I said before, when I meet people who are incompetent, I recognize they're incompetent, their credibility goes away, bam. So I generally proceed on my own. For years, my clients have depended on my ability to do this because they give me, for example, tracks for songs. This goes all the way back to the 80s when a band would come in. They have a cassette tape they made in their garage. They go, we want to make a record. We don't know what to do. Don't worry. I do. And so that also kind of explains why total strangers come up to me and say things like, "You look like a person I can trust." Really? I'm thinking to myself, really? Okay. This happens so often. It doesn't happen so much here in Taiwan because we speak Chinese and Chinese society is different. But we'll give you an example. When I lived in Derry, New Hampshire, there was a Chinese restaurant owned by a Taiwanese lady. And of course I used to eat there a lot. I remember I was eating, they had a bar at one end of the restaurant, an actual nice bar. And there's a couple seated at the bar. I didn't pay any attention to them. They have a buffet. I went to the buffet, got my favorite foods, said hi to the chef and the ladies working there. And I got my food and sat down at my table, and it was on the side close to the bar. Just a coincidence. Well, I was sitting at the table by myself. But I was I was facing towards the bar, but I wasn't paying attention. I was just eating. And a woman said hello to me. And I looked up. And I realized it was the couple that was there, but it was just a woman. She was alone. I said, "Oh, hi." And she said, I'm telling you guys, I swear, I'm telling you the honest truth. She said to me, she goes, "I just got this new leather jacket. What do you think?" I recognized this is one of those times. MJ, you need to listen. I put my chopsticks down and I directed my attention at her. And I didn't have to move my head because I could just move my eyes, but I moved my head up and down to indicate that I was actually looking at the jacket and how it fit her. She was a lovely woman. And that jacket, honestly, looked amazing. And I told her words to the effect of, "I think it looks perfect. You couldn't have made a better choice. Something like that. That's typical of what I said. And you should have seen her face. That made her, I don't know, whole night, whole day, whole week, I don't know. But then she proceeded to tell me, yeah, like I got it at this place and they fitted it to me and all this stuff. And then I saw her look. And she said, my husband went to the car to get his cigarettes and he's coming back, so I'm sorry, I can't talk to you anymore. I said, I understand. It was nice talking to you and you look great. And she turned around and that was it. That husband is a beta. What kind of a husband would not let his wife know that she's the most beautiful thing that he's ever seen? Especially when she gets her hair done or she gets a new jacket, like in that case. That woman turned to me because she wasn't getting what she needed from her husband. But I strongly feel that there was something about me that she detected just by looking at me, because there were other people in the restaurant and she didn't ask them. The reason I was sitting close to the bar was because there was a lot of people. The other side of the restaurant where I usually sit was full. I've had people approach me randomly. When I was okay, you guys know that in 2018, I went to the States for 4 days to see Dr. Sears at the Sears Institute of Anti-Aging. I was in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, suffering my second flight cancellation. There was, something in my teeth. A bar in the airport, and it was open late. It was open like 2 a.m. So it was about 12. I went there, got something to drink, something to do. Bunch of really interesting people from all over. I met a guy that's been in over 100 countries working on oil rigs and stuff. He had a deep, deep southern accent. This guy sounded like a redneck hick. I would say he's one of the most smartest people I've ever met. You can't judge people by stuff like that. We were joking about that. Dude, you sound like, the Dukes of Hazzard. But this guy was extremely, I think he's probably genius level. So we got to talking and so forth, and the bartender said, well, sorry guys, I got to close up. And we're like, she was really nice. We all gave her a big tip. So it was about 1 o'clock. I got up to go find a place to sleep in the airport. A young man named Chris, 26 years old. I know because I asked him. He said, do you mind if I ask you something? I said, no, go ahead. MJ, you need to listen. I turned my attention to him. I visibly turned my body and my head at the person to let them know that they have my attention. He said to me, you seem like you have your act together and you know a lot of things. Do you have any advice for me as a young man? I'm glad he asked me. Yes, I did, and I gave it to him. I understand that this kind of thing, Matthew Fistbump, nice to have you with us, thank you. I understand this thing is kind of a Sigma male thing. I never knew that. You guys know me, and I don't like to think more of myself than is necessary. I'm not trying to tell you I'm special, I'm just telling you I'm different. Matthew, excuse me, embarrassed. It's exactly 1 hour since I started the live stream. We missed you at the beginning, by the way. But I have been talking about my journey to try to figure out who the heck I am and why I've had difficulty with certain things. I've had difficulty with employment and so forth. But on the other hand, being a Sigma male has really helped me in certain other ways. Now, I believe if I press these buttons, there's a button on either side, there's a battery on either side, there's an LED on either side. They control each side of the glasses. So if I press this button here, then it goes in, okay, this goes into a different color. And then now we're going to go into flash mode, which I don't like. And so let's keep it on here. Is this okay? This is like, because I press one slightly faster than the other. Actually, I could, yeah, we got something completely different here. When I was at Cybex, C-Y-B-E-X, Cybex International, the famous exercise equipment company, I was hired as a consultant for $1,000 a week in 1999. And, okay, well, you know, I understand it's probably because of Mr. Grayson, and, you know, we're going to give you a pass because that's more important. Family is always more important, and I know you're a family man. But you know something, Matthew? You've been one of my biggest supporters from like the very beginning, so I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it, and I really do, and I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. I love you, same as all my other followers, and I thank you so much. When I was at Cybex, I took the advocate, you know, position of both the customer and also of the assembly line worker, because as a manufacturing engineer, they called on me to streamline some of their manufacturing, solve some of their, you know, shortage problems, and I actually designed several of their assembly lines that were making famous products like this, like the 600T treadmill, if you guys remember that. It was the first treadmill they had that had dual tubes. It was amazing. If you look, the Cybex CYBEX 600T treadmill, I am the person that designed the assembly line that built all of those units. And I even wrote the procedures and took all the photographs in the original manufacturing procedures. There are other products that I did, but that's the most prominent one. I probably did 4 or 5 anyway. But when I was at Cybex, much in the same way, people would approach me when they felt threatened by something because I wasn't threatening, and they thought that maybe I could help them. Fist bump. There you go. All right, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to go back to red. So one day there was a big powwow between management. I hate these. I don't know why these companies do this, and they don't do this anymore. I mean, this company doesn't do this anymore. It's always the office versus the manufacturing side. It's always, you know, the management versus the workers, and I hate that. It's stupid because there's no need for that. Like Dr. Deming said, that one of the first things you should do in a manufacturing organization is to remove fear. If people are afraid to do their jobs, remember I told you about this guy, and he didn't know that the first rule of business is to make money? People at Cybex used to ask me, am I going to get in trouble for doing this? I go, why would you get in trouble? This is the right thing to do. The company's going to make money, right? They go, yeah. I said, well, why are you worried? And they're always like, I don't know. That's a big problem. So I tried to eliminate this kind of fear. And whenever I worked with somebody on the assembly line and I asked them to do something that wasn't standard, I would always tell them, if anybody asks you, you tell them that I told you to do that and that they should come talk to me. I never had a single person ever come talk to me about what I said. There was a big meeting, and 2, not 1, but 2 of the production supervisors asked me to sit in the meeting. And I said, well, this is kind of outside my purview, but why would you like me there? And they said, well, we feel helpless against management when they start talking all this stuff about us. And I said, okay, I understand. So I told my boss, I said, look, 2 supervisors asked me to go to this big meeting. Now I'm going to tell you something. I don't even remember what the meeting was for. It was stupid. But there is a woman who was, I hate to say this, she's a modern feminist and just was really tripping on her own power. And so I got to the point, and this is another aspect of the Sigma male about having your time wasted. It got to the point where there was just so much horse crap that I just said, can we stop? And this woman was like, what? I said, okay, look, I need to explain something to you. And you need to understand this. And nobody ever talked to her about that, like that before. Another aspect of a Sigma male is we don't care what happens at our job. We care about the morality and right or wrong. If you fire me, I don't care. In fact, if you make me mad, I'm gone. I don't care. I don't need you. This is a Sigma male trait. And I never knew I was a Sigma male, but I was acting like this whole time. So this is like the year 1999, right? And so I said, you need to understand something. And I pointed to where the office is. I said, if you guys go away, nobody over here will notice. We won't notice at all. Because even the payroll is automated from an outside company. But if this manufacturing department shuts down for one day, the revenue that we lose will devastate you guys over there. It's going to make marketing, it's going to make sales, it's going to make everybody look really bad. And if you shut this guy, the manufacturing department down for a month, you are 30 days to poverty. You don't know this, but you're 30 days to poverty. You need to lay off these people and let them do their job. And nobody ever talked to her like that. And she was fuming. And that woman never spoke to me again. But guess what happened to me? What do you think? Write the comments. What happened to me for saying that to her? A little more ice. There must be a huge, huge lag in the comments. Touch more rum. I know you guys know what happened to me. Oh, there must be a huge lag in the comments. Wow, this is bad. I don't know how to reset this so the comments. This is a YouTube thing, but you know absolutely nothing happened to me. They kept rehiring me. Thank you. They kept rehiring me and eventually hired me as a full-time engineer. And I lasted there for a year, then I went to the other company. So nothing happened. Nothing happened. And the reason is I spoke the truth. That is another Sigma male attribute. We rely on truth and we use the truth as the basis, the very foundation for what we do. And there's so many aspects of that. And for those of you who know me personally, you know this has a special meaning for me. So it's like, wow, I had a recent revelation. I am 0.01%. This is why I have difficulties with some people, but this is also why I'm able to help other people. And so now I'm embracing this. See, before I would listen to people when they would say things, oh, you need to change. It's not right how you talk to people. And No. No, your perception is wrong. Because those of you who know me know that I'm cordial. And I don't insult people unless it's required. Because believe it or not, there are people in this world that need to be shot with a gun because they require it. That's how they act. There are people that need sometimes to be insulted in order to show them their own arrogance. But there's no need to insult people for no reason. And I don't like to make things personal for no reason, but a lot of people do. And so I don't enjoy just more than a couple of minutes casual small talk about meaningless things, which explains a lot because 95% of the movies that come out I don't like, and I can't stand dramas. And my wife is not a big drama watcher, you know, and I'll be honest with you, which is good. But the last couple of weeks, my wife and my daughter Phoenix have been watching some Taiwan dramas, and there's a lot of yelling and stuff and conflict, and these things are absolutely, completely repulsive to me. That is a standard Sigma male trait. We hate unnecessary conflict. And you know, I've said this a million times, and Dave, I've even said this to you personally in our discussions. One of the things that bothers me the most about life and relationships is artificial problems. And also what you see sometimes on YouTube, people talk about first world problems. You know, oh, I can't upload a photo to my Instagram, you know, and it's like these ones that, oh, I didn't get the yogurt that I wanted, so my whole day was ruined. What the hell is wrong with you people? These are trivial matters. These don't matter. Why are you so upset? Why are you hinging on these things? The Sigma male can't stand this kind of stuff, and I can't even stand to be around people like that. So after this live stream is over, this may be considered somewhat controversial, but what I would like for you to do as a viewer and of replay viewers ongoing is, would you please leave comments after you have done research on what, you know, the characteristics and traits of a Sigma male, after watching my live streams for so many years, after some of you knowing me personally for so many years, will you tell me in the comments if I have made a misjudgment, or do you agree with my assessment? Because I gotta tell you, when I ran across this information, I was like, what? And I started, and the last half of it, I'm like this. Oh, really? That's me. I feel like Captain Picard in that episode where the satellite from some unknown alien species kind of zapped him, and he went back to this planet, and he lived his whole life there. Yeah. And at the end he said, oh, it's me, it's me. Yeah. Anyway, if you know that episode, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, that was the major topic of tonight's discussion. Now, if you like the glasses, I'll keep them on. But I did want to show you some other stuff, and I've been yakking for an hour and 14 minutes. I appreciate you guys listening. I'd like to show you some stuff, because we went to East Taiwan, and you know I did the hot tub stream. But part of the reason that I haven't been on is because I've just been so busy. I want to show you something funny, though. We have in Taiwan, when you go to these hot springs, they give you these little Japanese robes. And I put this on, and I kept thinking, Steven Seagal. without the black hair because I'm way too fat. So I'm on a fast. I use my drone, and I took this picture. I use bracketing. So I take a standard exposure, then one stop under and one stop over, and I use Affinity Photo, and I do an HDR stack. But look at this. This is Yulee. I took off from an altitude of over 850 meters. I'll show you in a minute. And flew over the valley of Yulee, and there was the sun. So here's the thing about this picture. It either makes you believe in UFOs or God. One or the other. But that, to me, is one of the most amazing photos I've ever seen. And I'm going to tell you something. I take no credit for it. I didn't even know it was there because where I was hidden. Oh, it is. But I'm going to tell you something. The only skill involved was in the color grading. Where I was, you see the hills in the foreground? Where I was in front of those hills, so I couldn't even see the sky. So I brought the drone up and saw that, and I was like, my goodness. And yeah. So I was at the green farm. Now just in Hualien, just driving down the street around Yulee, you see this kind of thing all the time. This is the side of the road. There's a rice field, and there are the mountains, and you notice that the clouds are like stuck up against the mountains. It's amazing. That happens all the time. The clouds run into the mountains, and it's phenomenal. So anyway, what I wanted to show you was, I wanted to give you an idea of some of these hot springs rooms. Okay, so this is one of the hot springs rooms that we were in, and you can see all the, the open windows. Of course, they have shades, but if you're an exhibitionist, you can leave them open if you want to. And that's another one. I think I showed this on my last live stream, where I showed, where I was talking about where I was. But we went walking around, and there's this place called the 1,000-ton Turtle Stone. And just walking around, this is the Taiwan countryside. Oops, this is the Taiwan countryside in this area. Look at this. Those kind of orange, that orange color that you see, are daylilies. It's the daylily season. That road off to the right, that's what we're walking on. Let me give you some more shots of this. This is amazing. This is what Taiwan really looks like. You guys, I've told you a million times that I call this God's thumbprint. There's a reason for it. I've been probably to 10 countries. I've been all over Asia, and this is the most beautiful place I have ever been. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you told me that I was not allowed to travel to any other country, it'd be fine with me. There is so much here. There are so many amazing things. This is another shot, the same countryside. These rolling hills, this greenery, and those flowers. This is in Hualien, which is on East Taiwan. Now, I was going to show you the altitude. My GPS app says it's 822 meters. That was a takeoff point. I mean, that's high. The interesting thing about that photo is, you can't tell, but behind me, there were mountains that were even higher. So for those of you who like the daylilies, let's look at the daylilies. This is one of the places that we went that has a daylily grove. Now, basically there are two kinds of groves. They have groves that they harvest the daylilies because they harvest them because some are made into tea and some are made into food. And you can get all kinds of dishes with daylily made in them. But my friend Andreas, who built and owns the Green Farm with his beautiful wife, Kathy, has actually created daylily liquor. It's a hard liquor. he made a mash out of the daylilies and he distilled them, and it is absolutely amazing because I've never had a flavor like it before. It's a strange flavor, but I like it because it's so different. And so, of course, my beautiful daughter, Phoenix, is growing up. She's 9 years old, sat here, and I had to take a portrait of her. My wife doesn't like to be on camera, so I will not show you any of those. But I did do a very interesting video using the Insta360 1X2 360 camera, and I would like